publicly announcing that they intend to prosecute people who violate these state orders. So we're going to get into this. In the state of Missouri, the Macon County prosecutor, Joshua Meisner, has released a statement stating that in order to protect public health and safety and help prevent the further spread of the illness, and I can't say the name, the Macon County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is sharing the following order. Under section 192.320 RISMO, failure to follow such order is a Class A misdemeanor. The range of punishment for Class A misdemeanor in Missouri is up to 1 year in the county jail and up to a $2,000 fine or any combination of fine or jail thereof. There are a lot of you, and I know a lot of you a lot of my audience has a stronger leaning anti-authority basis, and that's not a bad thing in most situations. So one of the questions that you're going to have is, can they actually do this? And we're going to get into that. Revised Statutes of Missouri, section 192.320 reads, any person or persons violating any provisions of sections 192.101, 192.020 to 192.490, 192.600 to 192.620, or who shall leave any pest house, isolation hospital, or quarantined house, or place without the consent of the health officer having jurisdiction, or who evades or breaks quarantine, or knowingly conceals a case of contagious, infectious, or communicable disease, or who removes or destroys, obstructs from view, or tears down any quarantine card, cloth, or notice posted by the attending physician or health officer, or by direction of proper health officer, shall be deemed guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. We don't have a quarantine order in Missouri. We actually don't even have a stay-home order in most areas. So this pest house, isolation hospital, or quarantine house, now or place without consent of the health officer. So that's not really going to apply. We're talking about a different part of this statute. So, or who evades or breaks quarantine. Well, there is no quarantine for you to evade or break unless you have been quarantined. And if you have been quarantined, you know that. There is no question. Does that apply to me? Or conceals a case of contagious, infectious, communicable disease. So where is this authority coming from? Well, it's actually coming from the underlying RISMO that they're referencing, 192.020. Okay, that's to safeguard the health of the people of Missouri. Certain diseases to be included on communicable or infectious disease list. Yeah. It shall be the general duty and responsibility of the Department of Health and Senior Services to safeguard the health of the people in the state and all its subdivisions. It shall make a study of causes, and prevention of diseases. It shall designate those diseases which are infectious, contagious, communicable, or dangerous in their nature, and shall make and enforce adequate orders, findings, rules, and regulations to prevent the spread of such diseases, and to determine the prevalence of such diseases within the state. It shall have the power and authority, with approval of the director of the department, to make such orders, findings, rules, and regulations as will prevent the entrance of the infectious, contagious, and communicable diseases into the state. The Department of Health and Senior Services shall include in its list of communicable or infectious diseases, which must be reported to the department, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA. I can't even pronounce this next one. I'm not even going to try. CRE, as specified by the department, and VRE, again, it's vancomycin-resistant Enterococcus. Anyway, so I don't think they ever intended people to actually be able to pronounce these diseases, except doctors who go through apparently a class and maybe some foreign language training for it. The essence of this is that this places upon the Department of Health and Senior Services the authority and the requirement shall make and enforce adequate orders, findings, rules, and regulations to prevent the spread of such diseases. Okay? And it shall have the power and authority with the approval of the director to make such orders, findings, rules, and regulations as will prevent the entrance of infectious, contagious, and communicable diseases into the state. So, it's already here in the state. Now they are attempting to contain the spread. So what is the order? Well, let's flip back to what the order actually is. And in this case, it was printed in the local news media. Now, quote, the Director of the Department of Health and Senior Services, the person who has the authority to make the order, finding it necessary to protect public health and prevent further spread of COVID-19. Now, this is what we're talking about. It's already in the state. Now they're attempting to contain the spread. Pursuant to the authority granted under section 192.020, hereby orders the following. 1. In accordance with the guidelines from the President and the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, every person in the state of Missouri shall avoid social gatherings of more than 10 people. So what's a social gathering? For the purposes of this order, social gatherings shall mean any planned or spontaneous event or convening that would bring together more than 10 people in a single space at a single time. Now, what we don't know from this is, what is a single space? I've got a monster room, main lobby in our office. We have an open concept to the main office area that is, 100 feet long, probably 30, 40 feet deep, and we've got desks, chairs, conference tables. Is that considered one space? If we had 10 people in that, is that one space? Or would the entire office be considered one space, even though we have individual offices? So, because we have multiple offices as well as the open area, would all those offices be a separate space? So we could have 10 people in my office, which is, maybe 20 by 20. It's not really big. It's not really small either. So could we have 10 people in my office? That would be awfully close together. We wouldn't have a 6-foot separation. But we'll come to that some more in just a moment. The question is, what is a single space and at a single time? How much time needs to be between the people for a single time? Can they go in and one person then come out? Or does one person have to come out before one can go in? If we're going to take this to a criminal level, a lot of this is vague to the point where a person can honestly be mistaken. And that is a problem. But let's get through this, and then we'll talk about the criminal aspect. 2, in accordance with the guidelines from the President and the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, every person in the state of Missouri shall avoid eating or drinking at restaurants, bars, or food courts, provided, however, that the use of the drive-through, pickup, or delivery options is allowed throughout the duration of this order. So, the provided really makes a question here, okay? The order says, shall avoid eating or drinking at restaurants, bars, or food courts. Well, shall avoid is not, you may not eat there. So you shall avoid. Well, avoid to what extent? As reasonable? As capable? If you have access to a kitchen, should you not go to that? That's vague. Shall avoid. Look, don't go out to eat. That's really what they're saying, is don't go out to eat. But we get into this because the county of Macon has announced that they're going to prosecute you. So if you go out to eat or drink at a restaurant, bar, or food court in the county of Macon, you could well be prosecuted. Provided, however, that the use of drive-through, pickup, or delivery options is allowed through the duration of this order. So, what the hell does that mean? Does that mean that you shall avoid eating or drinking at restaurants, bars, and food courts as long as there is a delivery option or a pickup option or drive-through available. If there is not a delivery, pickup, or drive-through option available, then can you eat there? So McDonald's, you'd have to use the drive-through. But for the sit-down joint that doesn't have a drive-through, if they don't have a pickup option, you can't get food to go, then you can eat there. But if they have a pickup option, you cannot. Until they can no longer do pickup because maybe they run out of styrofoam containers. You know, again, there's a little vague. The essence of what they're trying to accomplish is clear. They don't want you going out to eat. But where we come into the problem is when we criminalize this through the Macon County prosecutors' attempt to criminalize it, then it becomes, well, what exactly is criminal here? Because the ordinary person reads of this and they're going to say, provided that the use of drive-through pickup or delivery option is allowed. So, if, for example, the County of Macon were to say you can no longer use drive-through pickup or delivery, you know, we're done with that. Then can you go to the restaurant and sit down? Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. Look, the essence is they want you to stay home and social distance, which, you know, for the record, you should be doing. If for no other reason, then there's really nobody you like that much. I mean, come on, let's be honest. So, paragraph 3. In accordance with the guidelines from the President and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, of Disease and Control and Prevention, not for, they get real pissy about that. People shall not visit nursing homes, long-term care facilities, retirement homes, or assisted living homes unless to provide critical assistance. Well, that is a phenomenal question. What is critical assistance? Again, we don't know. We can go to the dictionary, we can pull up the dictionary definition of critical, and that's fine. If we were to do that right now, we'll just click over to that. Critical. Expressing adverse or disapproving comments or judgments. Pretty sure that's not the definition they meant, because I do that every day from here. Expressing or involving an analysis of the merits or faults of literature, no, that's probably not it either. Of a situation or problem, having potential to become disastrous at point of crisis. Of a person extremely ill and at risk of death. Having decisive or crucial importance in the success, failure, or existence of something. So yeah, one of those most likely. So when we talk about that, what is a decisive or crucial importance? Well, you know, if I have a loved one who is suffering from Alzheimer's, I think my presence may be of crucial importance for them. And I would probably say that this means I can still go see my loved one because that connection while they're suffering is crucial. And I would be wrong. The intent here is critical assistance for life, to keep a person, not just so that you can go and sightsee and spend the afternoon with grandma or, you know, whoever happens to be in that facility. So they don't want you visiting these facilities and bringing whatever you had in contact in, because there are a lot of people there that are vulnerable and at risk. That said, you know, this is a different time, man. Okay, we can argue this, but frankly, I think you're going to be arguing it from a jail cell. Although with the new bond rules, probably not. So let's go to paragraph 4. In accordance with the guidelines from the President and the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, schools shall remain closed. This order does not prohibit schools from providing child care and food and nutritional services for those children that qualify. Teachers and staff may enter the building as long as they follow directives set forth in this order. Okay, I want everybody watching to stop for one moment and think about that critically. Okay? Critically. Judgmental. We just talked about this in the other paragraph. Schools shall remain closed. This order does not prohibit schools from providing childcare. So they can be a daycare, but they can't teach the kids. That makes no damn sense at all. And frankly, it's something that pisses me off. What is happening, and why this is here, is what is happening is schools that are closing are opening in a very restricted limitation, providing daycare for people who work in emergency services. So for example, doctors, nurses, police, fire, those essential jobs that we have to have people at, regardless of the outbreak and stay home orders. Okay, those people are able to get daycare. Okay, they don't have to stay home from their job because there's nobody to watch their child. So that is what they're attempting to convey. They don't do it well, but that's what they're attempting to do. The schools are providing food, and that's a good thing. It's a very important thing where they can. I know that our local YMCA is providing meals as well for low-income needy people, and that is also a very wonderful thing. And these are organizations that we want to encourage to do that. So, in paragraph 4, don't be a dick about paragraph 4. Aside from the fact that it was probably poorly phrased. They probably should have just written that a little bit different, just to eliminate the jokes. Okay. Now, this order does not prohibit people from visiting a variety of places, including grocery stores, gas stations, parks, banks, as long as necessary precautions are taken and maintained to reduce the transmission of COVID-19. Oh, well, there goes YouTube. Including maintaining at least 6 feet of distance between all individuals that are not family members. I'll note that the 10 people in a single space at a time does not have the exclusion for family. Probably should. There are large families still. Offices and workplaces remain open. Individuals should practice good hygiene, where feasible, work from home in order to achieve optimum isolation. The more people that reduce their public contact, the sooner it will be contained, the sooner the order will expire. I don't believe that. I think the more people that do that, the longer the emergency is going to last. And that's because the whole point of this is to flatten the curve. Okay? You have the big spike that comes up, and you have a big spike where it flashes out, people get sick, and then it's over. By flattening the curve, you're taking the high number in a short time and you're reducing it to a lower number over a longer time. So, this literally is a multiple months thing. We will be on the second wave of the virus before this is done. So, I disagree with what they were saying. Now, this order, the more people reduce their contact, the sooner this order will expire. Local public health authorities are hereby directed to carry out and enforce the provisions of this order by means of civil proceedings. The order will take effect beginning 12:01 a.m. Monday, March 23rd, 2020, and remain in effect until 12:01 a.m. Monday, April 6, 2020, unless extended by further order of the Director of the Department of Health and Senior Services, with said extensions not to exceed the duration of the effective period of Executive Order 20-02. Now, here's the deal. There are some vague issues in, there's some vagueness, and that's because the order itself was not intended to be a criminal statute. It was intended to be, you people need to protect yourselves. This is what you need to do. And because you need us to tell you to do it, we're doing that. Look, are you going to jail if you break that order? Well, it's a possibility, at least in Macon. It's a possibility anywhere in the state of Missouri. Just because the Macon County prosecutor is the only one that has posted his intent to charge a person under this does not mean that it cannot be done anywhere else in the state. It sure can. Any county in the state of Missouri has the ability to file a charge under this statute. And quite frankly, some of them might. And here's why. Okay, we have a situation where there is a young man in Ashland, Missouri, 26-year-old man who is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree harassment because he threatened to give 2 store clerks COVID-19 by coughing on them. Now, some of you right now, older ones, are flashing back and remembering the late 80s, early 90s, when HIV was such a big thing. There were actually people convicted for spitting. Yes, because we didn't know how AIDS was and HIV were transferred, and there were a lot of people that were really, really scared, and fear ran rampant, much like it is now, though we didn't close anything. And we just told you to keep your pecker in your pants. And that didn't work either. So in this case, Mr. Nunez of Ashland, Missouri, has 2 counts of first-degree harassment. The Jefferson City News Tribune reported that he was coughing and told the clerks in 2 stores that he had the virus, and he has a $5,000 bond in Cole County Jail. Now, the sheriff said that they took his temperature and he does not have a fever. Now, it doesn't mean he doesn't have a cough. I mean, hell, this is spring in Missouri. Everybody's coughing. It's one of the problems we have. We don't know who's actually sick. Why is Macon taking the approach that they are? Well, in part because there are wonderful people like Mr. Nunez out there that are coughing on people and threatening to contaminate them with a virus that has a significant death rate. Yes, but Pat, it only has a 2% fatality rate, or it only has a 1.8% fatality rate, or a 1.2% fatality rate. And you know what? You're right. That's a low percentage. Now, let me load 100 guns. We will point them all at you. You stand still. And then we're going to randomly select one to fire and squeeze the trigger on it. Are you willing to stand there? Because I got to tell you, in that situation, that is too much of a chance for me. I would not allow my kids to stand in front of those firearms knowing that one of them is loaded and we're going to randomly select one to shoot. Or as someone else said on Facebook, if we handed you a bowl with 100 Skittles in it and told you 2 of these are poisoned, I don't know which ones. Your turn to eat a Skittle. Are you going to do it? Do you feel threatened then? Because that is the exact same situation we're talking about with the fatality rate from this illness. And it doesn't just affect older folks. I know somebody who has a friend who just passed, he was 32 years old. Okay, a guy that I went to school with, one of his buddies that he plays guitar with, has passed. So it doesn't just affect older people, and a fatality is a fatality is a fatality. I don't think it'll be over quick. It's going to be longer, but please, for the love of God, man, follow the order. We shouldn't have to threaten to prosecute you. Society should not have to threaten to prosecute you to get you to follow the order that was given. Be a good citizen, okay? You think it's challengeable, you think they've gone too far, great. Challenge it in court. That's what the courts are for. If you want to do that, there are attorneys that will do that. If you think that the ban on gatherings, social gatherings of more than 10 people is inappropriate, okay, fine. Challenge that in court, that is overly restrictive. Okay, the state, the authorities have the authority and the power to issue orders through the health department under these circumstances. They have exercised that authority, they have issued those orders, and they have the power to back that up. Do I think that they might be overreacting some? We're not going to get into that. It doesn't matter. What matters is the state has the authority to issue these orders. It has the power to back those orders up, and regardless of whether or not it's constitutional or unconstitutional, the fact of the matter is that that argument is going to be heard in court months after the crisis is over, and you will have been sitting in jail. So don't be the test case. This is not the hill to fight on. Where this becomes a problem for a lot of people is this is essentially ordered a number of businesses closed. This definition of social gathering is so amorphous that it is a convening that would bring 10 people or more than 10 people into a single space at the same time. Hell, we have 4 office staff. Okay? If everybody was in my office was at work and we had a couple of clients come in, we're over this 10. So, I mean, we have people that we have at home. Now, I'm paying them all. The people we have at home are getting paid their regular salary. If they can work from home, I want them to. If they can't, they can't. You know, it sucks. But these are the things that are crossed. Now, we're also not doing in-person client meetings unless we have to. There's very little reason that we need to have somebody in our conference room. So we're avoiding that as much as we can. But yeah, this is not the thing to fight over. So yes, the first prosecutor's office has said, hey, we intend to prosecute you for this. Clearly, they would not be doing that if they didn't have a general attitude of, we're against it. They're doing this because there are a lot of people that are violating these orders and they're concerned about their community's health and safety. Stay home, follow state orders, and if your state has a stay-home order or your city has a stay-home order, you need to understand that they have the right and authority to enforce those in most cases. As far as municipalities, that I can't say because I don't know every state law and every municipal ordinance in the country, and I'm not even going to try for something outside of Missouri. But that you can check on, talk to a lawyer. But the reality of it is if you challenge it, you're challenging it through the court, and hell, man, nobody's going to like it. So, thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe, and we will be talking to you again soon. Because I have to answer the phone, there's nobody here.